very good. Thank you so very much. I would like to call the recommending meeting to order at this time. Are we in time to open the call?
Yes, we are.
Okay, well, the first line item of business is bill number 201256 for possible action and annexation of the 46720 property location on the southeast corner of Hills Point and Wild High. This is sponsored by Councilman Stephen D. Rock. Staff?
This is Val Steed from the City Attorney's Office. This is a routine annexation requested by the property owner. Everything is in order. Recommend approval.
Okay. And now, are all of these items prepared to go to the City Council meeting in January, or are they separate?
Thank you. Bill number 2012-57, if it comes out of committee, is eligible for adoption tomorrow, and the other two will be eligible January 9th.
Okay, I appreciate that. At this time, is everyone from the public wishing to speak on this item in full, please come forward, name for the record?
There is no one coming forward, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so that note, are there any comments or questions from the councilman?
Council has a question. I am curious, it doesn't look to me like anybody representing the Beckers here. I know them pretty well. I was just curious if people are planning to tell us why they would like to join the city sometime. I mean, it's a rare treat, you know, to have somebody come into the city and pay a little higher tax.
I imagine it's just
Slightly higher taxes.
high caliber political leadership.
Finally got tired of Collins, is that it? And they want to, well, so.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Fagg is here to speak.
Flynn Fagg, Department of Planning. Councilman Coffin, in response to your question, I believe it's the desire to receive city services. That's the basis for the annexation.
Okay. Did you hear that, Ricky?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I did. That's fine, that's a good answer.
Mr. Chair, if I may inquire of our city attorney, some Beckers are my CPA firm, landlord.
This is a trust.
Not these particular Beckers, but closely related Beckers.
Unless there is an ongoing financial relationship between this applicant and you and your office, I think a disclosure is all that is required.
Well, they're probably going to make me keep paying rent, I imagine.
Certainly have this disclosure.
And I will disclose, but because it does not affect me any differently than this affects anybody else, I will be voting.
Okay, having noted that, are there any other additional questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion on the item.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. We're now down to bill number 201257, for possible action to expand the boundaries of the Order Corridor that permit to misdemeanor drug-related offenses to include areas generally located south of West Lakewood Boulevard and east of West and west of Stone Boulevard. It's proposed by Brad Jervik. And Brad, before you handle this item, I would like to, I understand that Captain Bernie from the Northwest Area Command is in the audience today.
Yes.
Captain Bernie, I just want to say thank you so very much for allowing this time on the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, all the time that you spent educating me in the 4-year course of working on all of the issues related to the home, as well as PRLS and all the work that you've done in and around the downtown within the last 35 years of your career. I just wanted to applaud you publicly and say thank you for all of your work, and pray that you have a great time in retirement. Thank you so very much, Captain.
Thank you, sir. I'd love to be a captain, but unfortunately, I'm a working officer. I'm not a captain, but I appreciate the promotion. All due respect, thank you. It's
you led out there like a captain.
yeah, unfortunately, it didn't come to
The captain's still on his boat, Mr. Chairman. Okay.
I represent the captain.
Thank you so very much for your service.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, Brad.
Councilman Brad Jervik with the City Attorney's Office. About 2 or 3 months ago, Officer Bernie approached me along with other officers of the Metropolitan Police Department and brought to my attention a problem which he will detail in a moment involving activity in the area of Prairie Pines, Carl Avenue, Michael Way, and Lake Mead Boulevard. After discussing the issue, it was agreed that we would propose to the City Council an opportunity to expand the order out corridor in an effort to deal with increased drug activity in this area. Let me say before I turn it over to Officer Burney that I have known Officer Burney just about from the day he first wore a uniform, because I started at the DA's office at the same time, and I've enjoyed working with him for over 25 years now, and you're going to be missed, Ray.
Thank you.
If you would explain the reason for the order out corridor extension.
The Sierra West apartment complex is located to the south of Lake Mead, west of Jones, east of Torrey Pines. Unfortunately, it's a very small area, 5 streets, a total of about 3 blocks, and it has a very distinct problem that is just not one ownership of the complex. There's 84 buildings, probably 5 or 6 which are completely boarded up now, and some are in foreclosure, and others are in the bank process. And the problem is, there's 60-some-odd owners, several live out of state, and some even live out of country. So we've done several major cleanup projects, citizen awareness projects in that area. It's a very socially, economically deprived area. A lot of unemployed people that have low-paying jobs. So there's a lot of problems with that type of issue there. There's a lot of drug activity, a lot of gang activity. There have been for the 20-some years that this complex has been in existence. But I don't want to demean the other good people that live there. Unfortunately, it's a very small population in there that causes most of the problems, and it's our highest crime area in the Northwest Area Command. I've been in the COP team, this community-oriented policing team, for almost 5 years. This is the second or third major project we've done with Councilman Barlow. At least 2 of the last ones we've done. One we completed about a month ago, where we try to get the citizens aware of the problems, notify everybody. We have interpreters of the heavy Hispanic area in there, and try to get some kind of ownership and pride in living there. Even though they rent, you can still have pride in where you live. Big cleanup project, awareness situations, and the problem is there's a lot of repeat offenders. And what we have happen is, if we have a good rapport, we've set up networking through internet and emails with the different owners and property managers. However, if we have an individual dealing drugs or committing criminal acts on Lirio, which is one of the streets, he gets evicted. We work very well with the owners and the managers we have contact with. This individual will then move to ARPA. He gets evicted from there from the same activity. He'll then move to Balata. Because of there are some multiple building owners, but most of them are individually owned. So the problem is not like you would have a normal complex where you can trespass them from the entire complex. You have to trespass them from each individual building. They'll go move in with someone else. It's like hopscotch. And it's really difficult to maintain that integrity of the trespass program when you have so many diverse areas they can go to. The whole of the order out is it gives the patrol officers in our unit the tools to get those people out of the area completely. If they're convicted of a misdemeanor crime, whether it's trespassing, misdemeanor drug dealing, things of that nature, criminal activity, then we can put them on the order out program. Officers will then be able to stop them and arrest based on the order out. Because if they're in there, they're committing a lot of criminal activity. That's all they're doing is criminal activity. Many of them don't even live there. They just come in there to commit their crimes. We had one yesterday where we had a stolen vehicle. Officers chased him. He ran into a building. They didn't see which building. They finally found out which one. And we had it took a lot of time to finally get a hold of the owner who allowed us to win, and they were on the couch. They're all heavy criminal background records. So there's some drug dealing in there with different gangs that are fighting shootings. Officer Anderson will articulate a little bit more of the arrests. There's a lot of what we call self-initiated activity. Officers will go in and make pedestrian stops, vehicle stops. Cars aren't stolen from in there because most of the cars are pretty beat up from the economic area, but a lot of cars are stolen and brought into the area. A lot of drug dealing, so some prostitution. There's a lot of things going on there that I think if we had this order out, it would give us a better hand and in order to maintain the integrity of the area.
Very good. Officer Anderson?
Councilman Barlow, this is Officer Ryan Anderson. One of the things that I wanted to bring up real quickly, I've I've worked Northwest the majority of my career as well, and this has been, we've had different captains come through the area command, as they tend to rotate every 2 years, and each time they come through, they'll mention that Sierra Oeste is still one of the highest calls for service areas in the area command. Northwest Area Command is approximately 105 square miles. It's one of the largest area commands we have in the city. And this small 5-street area of Sierra Oeste is a cause of one of the highest calls for service in that 105 square miles. So it takes up a huge amount of our time. I've got some things that some printouts and stuff that I can leave with the committee here. One of the things I wanted to point out was in the year-to-date 2012, we've had 62 calls that were, the disposition was either an arrest or an arrest with a crime report. So in 5 streets, there have been 62 people, or maybe repeat offenders, but at least on 62 different occasions, we have people arrested out of this small area just this year alone. Of those, it's delineated into our 400 codes. 440 is a wanted subject, a 463 is a investigation follow-up, a 467 is a car stop, a 468 is a person stop, and a 416B is an other disturbance. The majority of the calls in here are either wanted subjects, investigation follow-ups, car stops, or person stops, which leads me to believe that the people that are getting arrested don't tend to be the people that live in the complex themselves, but people that are visiting. Hence, the underlying purpose for this order out is we believe that a lot of times this is a place that attracts people who don't necessarily live in this neighborhood itself, but they're coming in because they're welcome there, and it's kind of a safe haven. Officer Bernie talked a little bit about the stolen vehicle that we had yesterday, and the person was of the mentality that they felt like they could he could just knock on any door and receive safe haven, because he did. He went and knocked on the door and said, "Hey, can I hide from the cops here?" And there's this culture in this neighborhood that people feel like they can hide from the police, and that's what we're trying to combat. One of the other reasons, or one of the other things that we talked about is being that it's such a small community and the majority of the people who live in this neighborhood know each other, those that, once this order out, should we have it granted, it takes place, we feel like the people that are there that are good people that don't want the crime in the neighborhood will have another avenue to contact the police, because they recognize the frequent flyers, if you will, and when they're in the neighborhood, if they know that these people have been ordered out because of the communication through the COP unit in Northwest, we feel like they'll be more apt to either even anonymously call a secret witness or send us an email or fire off a phone call to our office and say, "Hey, Johnny's been in here again, and we know that he's supposed to be ordered out of this neighborhood, but we've seen him come in over and over and over." And that's kind of that relationship is one of the, it's the relationship that we're trying to foster with the people that live in this neighborhood that are tired of all this crime.
If I could, this is Officer Bernie and Councilman Barlow. There's, in addition to the Sierra Oeste complex, there's 2 safe havens that are adjoining to the complex. One is to the south. It's a housing development off of Lanning Lane, south to Carl, and then 1951 North Jones, which is the Silver Palms Apartments. There's a direct correlation between both of that housing area and the complex. There's a lot of foot traffic back and forth from 1951 that we've been able to trail, that go from 1951 over to Arpa Balata, the Sierra West area, back and forth. A lot of the crimes and the criminals they're, like I said, they don't live in Sierra West, they may live in 1951 North Jones, and they just go back and forth doing their criminal activity. Also, we've got several holes in the walls of the further south street is Balata. The alley behind those buildings, there's a block wall which leads directly into Lanning Lane, which is the housing development to the south I spoke of. We've had several foot pursuits, and they'll go through the wall, over the wall. They've busted holes in the wall. We've had them repaired several times. They continue to knock holes in the walls so they can deal their drugs back and forth or escape from the police because it's dark back there. We would also ask that order out be in effect for those 2 areas also, because they directly correlate to the Sierra Oeste complex.
And then, I'm sorry, Officer Anderson again, one more thing that I wanted to point out. I've got two printouts that I'll leave that depict the actual call for service set on a map. And what you'll see is the congestion, and I can kind of show it here for those that are present, but this is the neighborhood surrounding, and then here you'll see a huge congestion of crime, or at least calls and arrests and stops here in the small neighborhood that we're talking about. And again, surrounding areas, and then the congestion right here. And this is a printout from our Omega system that, again, I'll leave it with you so that you have that there.
If I can get both of you, also give them to the clerk, and I'll be...
I would like to thank Councilman Barlow for his continued support of our area command and our COP team. Every time we come to his office, we've been given the tools necessary for both of our larger projects we did during the last 4 to 5 years. I believe without his help and his support, these projects would not have been as successful. I want to thank you, Councilman Barlow, for your help.
Now, I want to thank all of the officers who have assisted my office over the years for, helping to keep the streets clear and clean of all the drug and crime activity that has been bombing throughout this entire area. So really the hard work and congratulatory goes to you all who are actually on the ground making it happen. So I'm just glad that we're able to do it as a team. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Members of the committee, that concludes the testimony. If anybody has any questions, please go ahead.
Your questions.
Thank you.
Hang on a second. Mr. Chairman, are you asking Brad a question? Because Councilman Coffin also has questions.
Well, yes, I have a question for Brad. The officer mentioned the 2 additional order out areas, being that they are not identified. How do we handle that?
I'm not quite sure I understand.
I believe they might be covered. Let's have them look at the map and see if they're in there. I think maybe they started off with just discussing part of it, and they wanted to make sure that we were talking about the whole area.
And as I was looking at what was agendized, Councilman, this is Officer Anderson again, but with the description that was given, having west of Jones, east of Torrey Pines, and south of Lake Mead, these streets, this smaller neighborhood behind Sierra West A is covered within that description.
Okay, I just want to make sure that the communities were a part of the boundary in which you all have support. Okay, I appreciate that. Councilman Coffin.
Thank you. Well, I'm curious about order out. I didn't get a briefing on this bill, and there are 4 order out areas currently existing in the cities. They're all in Ward 3. And what I think I need to do is ask for some assistance in understanding the criminal activity in and around these order out areas before I vote on this one. Because I want to see, I know I've been working with DTAC on crime in these areas. They have the responsibility for 3 out of the 4. And then Northeast TAC, I think, on the 4th one. And so I'd just like to see the statistics for crime in the 4 order outs, which are mostly downtown, except for the 4th one. And then areas surrounding the order out areas. All I know is what I read in the newspapers in the distant past about order out. It's been around for a while. I think they have it in the county as well.
They have it, I believe, downtown, certain areas on the Strip, and some of the other areas. This will be a first for Northwest that I'm aware of. I believe, sir, it just gives our officers the tools to stop individuals that are placed on the order out. It gives the officers a probable cause for the stop based on them being on the order out to keep the activity, the criminal activity to a minimum and let everybody know that they're not welcome in that area with their criminal activity anymore.
And also, it's kind of based on the premise of 20% of the people committing 80% of the crime. And if we can identify those individuals and keep them out of a specific area that's plagued us, and at least have another tool to keep them out of that area, then it increases the likelihood that those that deserve to live in a community that's just as safe as any other community in the city, they're able to have one more tool to keep those 20% out of there. And as I mentioned before, it's kind of based on the premise of people that don't live in the neighborhood themselves, it's people that are coming in, committing crime because they think it's a safe haven, and then leaving the remnants of what they've done in that neighborhood.
For sure, I understand that from your first testimony. What I'm curious about is how it's affecting the areas. It's very hard to know maps for the others. Do you have any other statistics on order out with you to demonstrate how it works?
Unfortunately, because we're kind of divided into area commands, and we're quite a ways away from downtown area command or convention center area command where the order out also takes place on the strip, we don't have those statistics. We can certainly pull those and provide those at a later date. But at this time, we don't have any statistics from the other order
The
out.
reason I ask these questions, that's how I try to make decisions, is I just want to make sure that when you do this kind of thing, it doesn't just push the crime out into the neighboring areas. Maybe anecdotally, you have some answers on that sort of thing, but I don't have any answers.
So that's why we've tried to include the housing development to the south, where these people run to, and the apartment complex to the east, because to the north, it's a shopping complex. Many of the businesses are closed now due to the economic times we all face. Other than that, there's really not a lot of housing area around there. A little bit to the west and north, but there's some other complexes that aren't as drastically affected. And like I said, this area is pretty unique in the fact that you have 84 buildings and 60-plus owners, and trying to maintain contact with all these owners that are out of country, out of state. Some of them have property managers. Some of the owners live on property. Some property managers do. It took us several weeks to make contact with just some of the owners. We've even had almost, for lack of better terms, a power of attorney where the ownership or the property managers would give us permission to tow vehicles off of private property. They had signed documentation, but there's been such a turnover of the ownership of buildings and foreclosures, people selling, people passing away, things going into probate. It's been difficult to maintain that. So this order out would be a great tool for our officers to be able to maintain the quality of life issues for those living in that housing development.
Yeah.
I'm not seeking information about what's going on in this proposed order out area. I think, I buy your arguments. I buy your testimony. I do.
I think that I could speak a little bit to the dispersion of crime as well. If you look, and if you have an opportunity to see how condensed the crime is in this neighborhood, I think what, to your concern...
No, I buy your...
Or to the constituents...
Still arguing past the money.
I think he's concerned about
I'm just saying, it's running data on how it's affecting the four existing order out here.
I see what you're
If it's
saying.
working, then I see no reason. I mean, this might even be more serious than the order out areas that are currently in existence.
Councilman, if I could jump in for a moment. Our criminal division will attempt to put some numbers together for you so you can have them before the vote tomorrow morning. I wouldn't anticipate the question today. We have two types of order out orders historically. One dealing with prostitution, the other one dealing with misdemeanor drug activity. We're expanding, obviously, the one today dealing with misdemeanor drug activity. I can tell you anecdotally, which to answer your question, from time to time, this does move a problem from one area to another, but not as much as you would think. For example, prostitution was very popular on Fremont Street because the number of people that were on Fremont Street that would be customers and the number of, for want of a better term, flea bag hotels for them to shack up at to perform the acts of prostitution. When we created the order out corridor, we took away the customer base, the lucrative customer base, and took away the locations where they could actually perform the acts of prostitution. Does that mean they're not going to still try to set up shop? We found that they did try to move to other areas. And if they congregated there and there were equal opportunities there, we expanded the order out corridor again, eventually extinguishing the places that created opportunity. I think what's going to happen here is this place, at least according to the testimony, is a place of opportunity. It will extinguish this neighborhood as a place of opportunity. No doubt they will try and disperse. No doubt they will try and find other opportunity. But I think based on the testimony today, and this is why I agreed to sponsor it doesn't look like that same type of opportunity exists around the perimeter of this. That's not the best answer I can give today, but I can give you actual numbers of cases where people have agreed to the order out corridor, where they returned to the order out corridor, or we found it and arrested them in some other place other than the order out corridor.
In addition, Councilman Orlando from City Manager's Office, we do have neighborhood indicator maps that we'll be able to plot exactly these areas you're talking about and designate how many crimes have been present in that, I guess just a variety of them, and also the perimeter of the areas as well, so you can see the impact of the areas. So we'll give you a visual picture of everything that's happening in these 4 areas.
By the way, an additional question, I guess you can answer this, Brad, but through you, Mr. Chairman, the issue of constitutionality, is it a settled issue?
Yes, this is completely voluntary. An individual who is caught committing a misdemeanor drug activity, in this case, prostitution, in the case of the prostitution order out corridor, is offered at sentencing an option of jail time or agreeing to the order out corridor. And the order out corridor does have exceptions. If you have a permanent residence there, your doctor is there, your church is there, your job is there, your legitimate job, I should say, you are able to go into the order corridor for those limited purposes. And if an individual doesn't want to agree to it, they don't have to, and they can take the jail time or other sentence.
What I don't see here is any numbers on the repeated arrests of ordered out people. On Griffith, we've had a string of burglaries, and Griffith Street, which is in the near Hunter area. And DTAC has been very good at pursuing now individuals who have been doing this, but it seems like in at least one case they've rearrested the same person in the same neighborhood. So that, I would like to know if that person had received the order out option upon release, and if in fact he just went right back, or what the consequences were by the second arrest, which could be the 30th arrest. I don't know, but I'd really like to know how it works.
I think it's a good question. What I'll do is I'll endeavor this afternoon to gather general information. If you have a specific case that you would like to know about, I'll try and drill down on that one as well. In some cases, individuals do not agree to the order out corridor, and if they don't, they would simply be sentenced, up to 6 months in jail and or $1,000 fine. If they agree to the order out corridor, as I indicated to Councilman Beers this morning, you would be in violation of the terms of your suspended sentence, receive that suspended sentence for being in the order out corridor, and be charged with a second crime, that second crime being in the order out corridor. And so that's what should happen. I'll try and find out for you if that is what happened in the case you're talking about.
Well, I'm not going to be in the office this afternoon. I don't know whether the chairman, well, this is obviously a necessary thing. Would 3 weeks matter? I mean, in terms of, I'm sure it's going to matter to somebody that gets burgled or somebody that gets hurt in there, but, I don't have enough information to vote on this today. I really could use the information for the purposes of what
And although I appreciate the announcement, I would recommend that we do it before the full council, and we try to get as much information to your office, through Brad's office, today and tomorrow, because we do have a major issue taking place down here, and in my neck of the woods that we've been trying to correct for many years, with the testimony of the police department. So I would prefer that we move this forward so that we can continue to stay alive in this area.
I might have other questions, Mr. Chairman. I think Councilman Beers might have some.
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to move that we do pass this ordinance to tomorrow's agenda.
And I appreciate your comment, but before we do that, I'm open for public comment.
Okay?
Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item? Please come forward and take the mic for the record.
No one is coming forward, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, sir. What was your motion?
So I would move that we recommend approval of this ordinance.
And I'll abstain today. It should pass soon, right?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye?
Aye. Those who are opposed?
Stop and abstain. And then we'll look to see, get some data, maybe I can make a decision as well. Work on that.
Okay. Please note for the record that Councilman Coffin is abstaining on this item. It will move forward to tomorrow's city council meeting, and Mr. Joseph, Ms. Cass will quickly compile as much data as possible in order for the council to make an informed decision tomorrow as a item before the city council.
I will, Council.
And Officer Bernie, I want to say Merry Christmas to all of the officers there. Thank you all for being happy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Council.
So they, can you look at these guys to see if they can start funneling this over here right away? Thank you.
Okay, we're now down to bill number 2012-58 for possible action update to city's regulations regarding tavern limited license and expand the prohibition on restricted gaming for taverns limited licenses sponsored by Mayor Carolyn G. Goodman. Staff?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Karen Doubleston, Business Licensing Manager. The downtown coordination team has met for several months working to provide connectivity between the entertainment district, the gaming area, and the arts districts downtown. One of those mechanisms is to allow the development in the downtown, creating bars and alcohol uses without gaming that are not subject to the 1,500-foot distance separation required by traditional taverns. The expansion in this text amendment allows the use of the tavern limited license, which has traditionally only been used in the gaming or in the entertainment district, with no gaming within the entire downtown Centennial Plan. It defines an outdoor entertainment complex. It defines themed establishments, and it defines the conditions which might be placed on a tavern limited license. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I was looking around, my staff couldn't find a map yesterday, we were trying to get one from planning. I don't think we were successful in getting a map of the downtown Centennial Plan. I just wanted to see if it's everything, there's a map here, map number 5 from some source, probably, well, okay, so it says, map 5, 10 downtown planning districts. Are all of these districts then the Centennial Plan?
Yes, Councilman Flynn, fact, Department of Planning. The map that you have before you, all of the districts shown in color make up the boundaries of the downtown Centennial Plan area. And so what is being proposed under this ordinance is to allow the tavern limited use to be within the boundaries of the downtown Centennial Plan area. So all of the area shown in color.
Okay, so I see that in fact, while downtown east, no, the Fremont East does have a name, those 3 blocks, but the continuation down the eastern is called East Village. I did not know it had a name.
Correct. We have names for all of the districts within the Centennial Plan.
Okay, now I understand. God bless you.
Councilman, do you have any additional questions?
This is a 3-part film, Mr. Chairman, or 3 or 4 parts. So let's see, this would allow the Taylor Park, am I right? Begin to participate in this sort of activity. What else would allow in specifics? Because it says, you know, and I think it's a good idea to get on the record, what the title means. The title indicates words expand the prohibition on restricted area. But as I understood it, tell me if I'm wrong as I rephrase this, this was a method of simply making the land area larger, in which, let's see, there's a prohibition on restricted gaming in the existing area, so we're making the area larger, so therefore we are expanding the prohibition on restricted gaming.
No, this particular license, a regular tavern license is restricted by distance. A tavern license is $75,000. It allows you slot machines to apply for a gaming license and the service of alcohol. The tavern limited does not allow any gaming. It's $20,000. It's only been allowed in the entertainment district, and the city council has provided, at least the past several years, an annual exemption within the entertainment district for a waiver of that fee, that $20,000 fee. So outside of the entertainment district, we're proposing to allow the tavern limited, which does not allow any gaming. So we're not expanding the prohibition on gaming. This license has never allowed gaming. So if you got a tavern limited license, you would not be eligible for gaming, you'd have to get a regular tavern license. To allow this license to be used throughout downtown,
Is the third license the urban lounge kind of license?
the urban lounge is $50,000, but the council has also provided a waiver annually. That waiver expires February 6th, and the council will have to consider it again. And the urban lounge license allows 5 slot machines, and it is only available in the Arts District.
It gets complicated. So
Gets-
Then the question would be, is if we were to come across, once we expand this, which I think there's support for, what happens if we have an application for a tavern limited? And it's pretty close to an existing licensee who's paid the full board. What happens?
The existing licensee, that origination fee is $75,000 because it not only includes alcohol, but it allows them gaming.
I see.
So those origination fees, if you look at the origination fees that are assigned to different licenses, as you get down to alcohol licenses that do not have gaming, those origination fees are very modest.
And is the tavern limited any equity that is held?
Outside of the district, if you did not receive a waiver from that fee, within paying the origination fee, yes, it is an asset license.
Okay, so, but it doesn't dilute by an asset license of the full.
Tavern, no, because they are allowed those slot
Okay,
machines.
all right, thank you.
Okay. Councilman Biggs?
I have no questions.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public witness in the item before this comes forward to take a name for the record?
We have a couple of people, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. You glad to hear from me?
Good morning, Councilman, as well as other members of the city staff. My name is Mark Longman. I'm representative of Pioneer Brewing Company. Good morning, Councilman Barlow. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mark?
Good, sir. Thank you. We just wanted to show our support for this expansion of the license into the rest of the downtown area. It is a very grassroots idea that's going on down there. A lot of blue-collar guys like ourselves trying to build a business is definitely be helpful to our project. So we just want to show our support and wanted to thank everyone as well as Carol Goodman for presenting it to the table. So if you have any questions, I'm going to respond.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman.
We have another speaker, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. You glad to hear from me?
Good morning, Jennifer Roberts of Lionel Sawyer and Collins, 300 South 4th Street, appearing on behalf of Shipping Containers. And I would like to also thank the City Council, Mayor Goodman, and the members of the City Council for supporting this ordinance. And I did want to request clarification on an item that applies specifically to the outdoor entertainment complex. On page 10 on my copy, it's of section 6.50.250E, letter E, number 2,
What's the line number?
1819. It indicates that no alcoholic beverages are allowed to be consumed within any retail establishment operating.
Hold it.
It should be line 24 on your page 10.
Apologize.
Is that what happens when somebody prints it out remotely? They get different lines?
It's beyond me. I hope never have to answer that question.
So it's not a PDF that they download, it's probably something else?
Could be, yeah.
Number 2 reads that no alcoholic beverages are allowed to be consumed within any retail establishment operating at the outdoor entertainment complex. Obviously, Shipping Containers understands that retail stores are not allowed to have liquor licenses. However, given the nature of the outdoor entertainment complex in which one entity receives a license for the entire complex, and then each establishment that sells alcohol also obtains its own license, it's going to be difficult for the licensee, the outdoor entertainment complex, to enforce this restriction given the pedestrian nature of, for example, the Shipping Containers complex. As you can understand, I think you've seen drawings where there's going to be numerous retail establishments within a confined area. The It's going to encourage a lot of pedestrian activity, walking around, looking at the different establishments, looking at the different, having food and entertainment and observing the entertainment at the different facilities at the complex. It is within a confined space, and number 4 limits the access, and there's also requirements for security. So the concern is that within a confined environment, having one licensee over this whole entertainment complex required to enforce anyone walking into a t-shirt shop to look at t-shirts that might perchance have a beer in his or her hand would be burdensome to the licensee and could, pose significant regulatory consequences. So we're asking that restriction be removed because there are other ways that retail establishments are not allowed to have liquor on their, sell liquor and have liquor on their premises.
I have a question, just one second, Jennifer. Brad, is Brad still along?
Yeah. No. Val's here.
Oh, Val, what prohibits me or any other individual, for example, and I'll use the Elko test, for one of the local stores in the area. If I were to go in and buy an alcoholic beverage and walk into a retail shop across the street from the place in which I bought the drink and just walk into another retail shop, is there no violation in that, is it?
I don't think there's any ordinance violation. It might be contrary to a particular establishment's rules, but I don't think we have anything in our code that prohibits that from happening. Was that correct? Planning?
There's codes that do not allow you to have to
Open container.
store, there's not open containers in the public areas.
But if in fact a store chooses to not allow open beverages inside of their retail, so that would just be their personal policy, correct?
Correct.
Okay. It's really like I was, had this came to mind as far as your request for the elimination of that particular piece of ordinance, wording in the ordinance.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
He's not ready to have a objection.
Oh, okay.
Did you have anything else?
No, I did have another question on number 4. It says that access into and out of the outdoor entertainment complex is controlled. Well, we have no problem with that. I just, wanted to comment that we had understood that the city had encouraged more outward access at some point, but we're okay with this language, just knowing that would be something that would restrict it in the future, if that were the preference.
Mr. Chair, this is Bob Beers. Is this, some of these things, shouldn't they be tied to the site rather than blanket inclusion in our ordinance? Number of points of egress, for example, might be specific to a venue. I'm just thinking maybe that's more appropriate on a site-specific special use permit.
Councilman, that may be the case, that as we have individual licenses come in, because no business is exactly the same. There's unique characteristics to all of them. And certainly we do have that ability to place conditions upon a license relative to things such as control points, et cetera. I think our intent was looking out for the greater good and trying to provide some general direction in terms of access to control. Looking at that particular line relative to the 4 points of ingress and egress, one of the things that we had talked about, I think our concern is making sure that that we have the ability to control minors in entering places where alcohol is sold. And when you have multiple, this is kind of a unique situation again, where you have perhaps multiple entrance points and exit points for each of the tavern locations. We were just concerned about the ability to control that. Karen and I had discussed yesterday perhaps some alternate language that we may already have in the code relative to signing the entrances and exits of the locations that sell alcohol, so that it's very clear that minors are not allowed within those establishments. And that might be another way that we could perhaps address that situation.
Councilman, do you have any additional questions?
I do not.
Okay. Jennifer, do you have any follow-up?
No, I've stated our position.
Okay. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item? If so, please come forward and state your name for the record.
Do you have another person coming forward?
Councilman David Bratcher from Administrative Services. I just had one edit to page 12, line 16. It's comment B2, small letter B, live disc jockey. The words "or without" were omitted. It should be "with or without dancing," as is in line 15. So for the record, I'd like to make that addition to the amendment.
Could you spell disc with a C instead of a K, or is it just K all through the ordinances?
I leave it on attorney spell check, I'm not sure how. I believe it should be C also.
Is the purpose of this to limit the activity?
No, this would allow, we don't want to have a live disc jockey with only dancing, it's the option for the option.
Section.
I'm sorry,
The section.
yes.
I mean, are we trying to limit, I don't see, for example, magic, another performing art that's generally accepted in mixed company. So are we trying to limit what can be done under the auspice of entertainment here?
No, sir, this is actually taken from the existing code, which entertainments are actually allowed, the types of uses. Magic is allowed as a use.
These are the types of entertainment. Sorry, Karen Duddleston, Business Licensing Manager. This section, this definition of entertainment is the entertainment that the City Council has required bars and taverns to report the type of entertainment that they're having. And it lists these in particular. I believe that ordinance was passed by the City Council out of concerns that were raised by the Metropolitan Police Department about certain types of entertainment that were attracting groups of individuals that they wanted to make sure they knew what was happening at certain locations. So there was a list of entertainment that was developed several years ago of the entertainment that needed to be reported to business licensing of what was happening. I believe that that definition of entertainment was also then used in the entertainment. But it certainly does not preclude other types of entertainment. It does include the type that when a tavern opens, they have to tell us what kind of entertainment they're providing. And we pass that information on to the local area commands.
We kind of list a lot of entertainment in other sections of the ordinances, like fire dancing or fire eating or whatever that is.
No,
And magic.
for other types of entertainer, when you get a license as an entertainer, it includes a broad variety.
Oh.
But this section is in our liquor code. These are the types of entertainment that if you're doing one of these, or if you switch a major category of entertainment, you report that to the business licensing manager, and then we pass that along to the local police agency so they know what's happening at various late night venues.
Councilman Barlow, this is Val. I wanted to ask a question here. If we add without dancing, that means that more people will need to get approval. And actually, this section is about approval as opposed to just notification. So if we add live disc jockey without dancing, that means somebody who didn't have to come forward now has to come forward and get specific approval. I just want to make sure that that's what Mr. Bratcher wants, because that's the consequence of adding that language.
Yeah, the comment was provided to me by our enforcement section from licensing. They felt that it should be there. Fine.
Okay, now,
Licensing is in two places on this one.
And Councilman Barlow, Val again, one other thing I wanted to clarify, the question was raised about the mention in both the title and the summary of expanding the prohibition on restricted gaming, and Councilman Coffin and I had a discussion about this yesterday. We found that there's a section 5 of the ordinance that currently talks about where restrictive gaming is limited to, and because tavern limited licenses were only available up until now in the Downtown Entertainment Overlay District, we didn't need to mention anything else. But with the potential of expanding this to the entire downtown Centennial Plan area, we have to amend this section to indicate that we're not just talking about the DEOD, the Entertainment Overlay District anymore. We're talking about anywhere where there's tavern limited license, anywhere where there's an outdoor entertainment complex. Members of the council have asked that we be faithful in reflecting the title and summary, other changes that we've made in the ordinance, and so that's why you see language in there about expansion of the prohibition. That's in fact what we're doing. We're expanding the prohibition to include locations where it wasn't previously applicable, because now tavern limited licenses will be available throughout the entire area. So that's the explanation of why the title and summary say what they did.
okay.
That's all I have.
And you put behind that now.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Bob Beers, so on page 11, starting on line 28, that appears to be the start of this section. And it would appear that we're prohibiting any one of these places from having any entertainment unless it's approved in advance by us. And then defines entertainment to include those 4 things.
Correct.
So presumably you could do something outside those 4 things without any advance approval. It's just if you offer any of those 4 things, you have to get advance approval because we, don't like them to be liquor.
This was the policy of the city council. We collect the forms and we pass them along. At this point, from licensing perspective, we do not have a preference on whether the city council wants to approve entertainment or banquet or event facilities or beer, wine cooler or restaurant service bars, clubs or taverns. In advance. I believe that some of those licenses, I believe there's one on tomorrow where it was conditioned upon the entertainment and reporting it because of some issues in the past at that location where there were disturbances. And it was felt at that time by the city council that those disturbances may have escalated due to the type of entertainment that was provided at that tavern.
And so in response to specific conditions occurring at a specific site, some specific action, this would appear to be blanket?
Yes.
So are you consistently getting requests to approve, well, Senator Coffin or Councilman Coffin is speaking on banjo music today.
In the past, the requirements that were required of these businesses was very detailed. They had to give performers, they had to give type of music, they had to specify whether it was jazz or guitar, the instruments. We changed those were internal policies that well exceeded what I believe this code said. So we have, over the past year, only been requiring these taverns to list the type of entertainment, whether it was live music, live disc jockey, live community performances, or karaoke, on their applications, and then if they changed those parameters to inform business licensing of major changes.
I think I'm hearing that we went very specific in our blanket ordinance to address a specific situation a long time ago, and now, fortunately, we've decided to ignore this section of the code.
We do require them to submit at the beginning, which is exactly what the code says. If you no longer require this information of your businesses, we would be glad to discontinue
You have a lot of paper.
this requirement, and we can address those issues as they come up.
Can you check with your people? See if anybody cares?
Yeah, we had a discussion yesterday.
For the record, Brian McCallum, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Yeah, we had a little discussion with Ms. Duddleston yesterday, and we're looking at some things. We weren't going to say anything today about how some of the new things Ms. Roberts brought out, and I think what you just brought out is something different, is something new that do you want to expand it, or you looking for direction? Do we have?
It doesn't sound like anyone at our end finds any of this useful. If no one at your end finds any
I
of
will
this useful, then
definitely
we might
find out, and also she
impose
has
a reporting
contact.
burden from our citizens.
Okay.
Because we do not want flatted thirds coming off any of your all's guitars or Banger Brothers.
Speaking of the Banger Brothers, there's a global chance to look at this ordinance at a later time, right? Because we're asking so much, we kind of wondered why. It probably varies from council to council depending on the action.
Maybe we can form a subcommittee tonight.
Yeah, but I think a couple of establishments need this language, need this ordinance to be passed.
Yeah, no, I know.
So you're going to have to move something here.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Chair, what's your pleasure? Do you want a motion?
Yes, sir.
I need a small amendment.
Yeah, we need to definitely need an amendment on the language back to back.
Wait a minute, sorry, is that two answers on with or without?
Yeah, the with or without would be a change in policy. And I'm wondering if it was requested by someone who doesn't understand the function of this, given what we've heard about how it's being applied.
I'll be happy to withdraw my request.
Need to type that in.
Licensing concur.
Licensing. Okay, so that leaves the proposal from Jennifer Roberts, Mr. Chair, on page 10 as a potential amendment.
Did she prepare in writing the amendment?
I think it's to delete lines 24, 25, 28, and 1 on page 11. 24, 25, and 28 on page 10, and 1 on page 11 to delete those lines.
And Val, where do you stand on the request as far as the deletion? Does that alter significantly what we're trying to accomplish here?
Our office has no objection to that. It gives licensing a little bit less than they asked for, but I assume they're able to deal with it. We would just eliminate those two subsections and move on.
Can licensing and planning tackle this on a site-by-site basis, is that?
Yes, we could have the ability to add conditions to a license that may address individual operating procedures.
Something like that?
We could recommend those at the time. Our concern with the bottom of page 10, 28, the top of page 1, was that these licenses allow for the consumption of alcohol on the premises on which it's served. And in most instances, you have a door, a front door and back door. You have a location where it's contained to. Our concern was simply to make sure that we were containing the alcohol on the premises on which it was sold.
We just told them to have a trash can and a sign that says deposit your drinks here, and you leave the premises. If they get them in plastic cups, I mean, I don't know what.
Is there going to be,
Boy.
is there only one outdoor entertainment complex?
There is.
Okay, and it is the shipping container park?
Yes,
At this time.
and this is only allowed in the entertainment district. So it's very confined. And I believe in the plan,
The outdoor entertainment complex is only allowed in an entertainment district.
correct,
So the likelihood is there will still only be one in 10 years unless we change some rules.
unless you change some rules, correct. And I believe that the plans that they provided to me show no more than 4 forms of ingress and egress.
And so the policy discussion here is this new concept of the shipping container village, if you will, proposes to mix uses we've not historically allowed to be mixed.
Correct.
That is correct.
And so the first policy decision contemplated by Ms. Roberts' First Amendment is whether or not people can freely walk around within the shipping container village with a glass of wine, or whether they have to stay inside the specific locale subunit where they bought that beverage. Does it sound like
That,
correct?
I believe that is the first policy decision.
Can I say something to you on this, unless you're drawn to a conclusion of some kind? It seems a little over-restricted to me, because now architecture will have to be designed so that there are no more than 4 points of ingress and egress. Staff will have to control and make sure that no more than 4. Or if you need more than 4 for your fire purposes, or some, I'm inexperienced here, but I sense this is maybe not necessary. I'm just thinking, well, in a particular case we're talking about, it's a special interest piece of legislation, which will fit in one place simply because there's no other businesses around this one. It's just open space. They're taking lots.
They're talking long-term when they get the neighborhood around it cleaned up, turning the whole thing to point outward instead of inward, I think.
They're talking about that. There's no guarantee they will. Just wondering, now, Ricky, you had worked on this before, because this is now Ward 3. You had worked on it, I suspect, as it was in Ward 5.
Yes, sir.
Were you happy with this language as it was proposed, term 24, 25, 48, and 1?
Yes, after meeting for many hours with the applicant, they were completely happy with what we worked out, as well as Karen and her.
Mr. Chairman, Karen Delston, business licensing. When we had originally talked about this clause on 28 and 1, our concern, and maybe I can rephrase this and help us all out. Our concern was with this complex, they wanted to do special events. They have actually showed on their plans ticket booths, those sorts of things, so that they could do an event there. So we designed this specifically so they wouldn't have to go through the special event process. They host their entertainment. They have the ability to close that. So if they want to do a concert where they're just serving alcohol and it's 21 and over, they have the ability to do that. I believe in the original discussions before we got together and started putting language down, it was just to have the outdoor entertainment complex have the ability to control the access in those situations. And maybe instead of saying 4 points of ingress and outgress, egress, that we simply say that they have the ability to control access to the outdoor entertainment complex.
Ending that sentence after the word controlled.
Correct. And it's the ability to be able to do that. So should it be needed that if they're planning something in particular where the city feels that it is in the best interest of the community to be able to control that they can do that through a couple points, and otherwise we're not specifying an exact number. Because it's the ability to control that, should it be needed. That was our concern for licensing.
Okay.
I'm willing to loosen this up. I don't see a big need.
Well, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
If you're ready to entertain a motion, is there any additional members of the public wishing to speak? No one's coming forward, and I would move that we recommend this to the council for approval with the following amendment. Deleting line 24 and 25 on page 10 and renumbering the rest of that section appropriately. And on line 1 of page 11, no, leaving line 28 in.
Oh, okay.
But line 1 of page 11, deleting the text so that there are no more than 4 points of ingress and egress. So that now would state that access into and out of the outdoor entertainment complex is controlled. And then we leave it to staff on a case-by-case basis to tackle specifics.
Okay, and we haven't heard that, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Alright. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Okay, and now, the last two items will go to the January 6th.
Yeah, the annexation and the item you just heard will go to the January 9th council.
Okay, now we're down to citizens.
Citizen participation. Any citizens wishing to speak, come forward now. They're all going the other way, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, seeing none, I'll need a motion.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome, Mr. Chairman.
All right.